The legal world is filled with complicated jargon and confusing mixed messages, but one attorney is here to kick the doors wide open so you can make sense of it all. Welcome to Zanes Law's Personal Injury Legal Tips with your host, Doug Zanes.
Hi there, this is Doug Zanes. Welcome to my weekly radio show. I appreciate you tuning in again. It is now 2015, so Happy New Year's, everybody. If you're listening to this late in the year, I guess I apologize for that Happy New Year, but it is actually the beginning of January 2015 as I'm recording this show. So I wanted to thank you for joining me in the new year and continuing to listen to my podcast. For those of you who don't know, my name is Doug Zanes. I am the owner of Zanes Law, which is a personal injury law firm with offices in Tucson and Phoenix, Arizona. We are a large personal injury law firm. We handle lots and lots of personal injury cases. And I like to do this show just to give out information that's helpful about injury cases and can help people who have been in accidents or who have been injured somehow maybe make decisions or at least be informed about the aspects of a claim or their case or potential case. Today I want to talk a little bit about property damage. If you've been in really a car accident primarily, but I guess property damage certainly applies to motorcycles. If you're riding a motorcycle and you're in an accident, it can apply to bicycles. If you're in an accident and your bicycle's damaged, but I'm going to talk about it in general terms when it comes to vehicles because that's 95% of certainly what we see from an accident standpoint. But if you've been in a car accident and you're not injured, but your vehicle has been damaged, you will find that it's very difficult to find an attorney to hire to help you handle your property damage claim. And the reason is because, we are, for example, if you look at our firm, we are personal injury attorneys. So we handle cases where people have been injured, not simply property damage. And that's how we get paid. I mean, that's the challenge, really, when only your vehicle's been damaged and you haven't been hurt, and you want to hire an attorney if you're having problems getting your vehicle fixed and you want to hire an attorney to help you. The only way you're going to be able, I guess, to do that is if you pay that attorney, if you write them a check. And unfortunately, with property damage, it's generally going to cost you far more than you would ever receive. It's going to cost you in attorney's fees far more than you're going to get when you resolve your property damage. I mean, that's either going to fix your car or, whatever it may be. And so that's the challenge. On injury cases, we work on what's called the contingency fee. So clients don't pay us when they hire us. We work on their case. If we handle their case successfully, then at the end of the case, we take a percentage of the monies that we recover for the client as our fee. And if we're not successful, we don't take a fee. We're not paid a fee. But with property damage, the problem is if your vehicle's fixable and you were to come in and ask me to help you get the insurance company to agree to fix it, if I'm successful, what they do is they fix your vehicle. And the insurance company writes a check to the body shop to pay to fix your vehicle. And somebody has to pay the attorney, in this case, in our example, me, for my services. And that somebody would be the client. And that becomes a big challenge, And so generally attorneys don't handle just property damage cases. And so I say that because that's really the scenario that I'm talking about today. If that's the situation that you find yourself in, you've been in an accident, in a car accident, your vehicle has been damaged, but you're not hurt, so you don't need to make a personal injury claim. What you should first do is pick up the phone and you should call your insurance company. So number one is it's very important for you as a driver, in my opinion, to have comprehensive collision coverage as part of your auto insurance coverage. The comprehensive collision coverage is what pays for your vehicle if it's stolen, if it catches on fire, or if it's damaged in an accident and the driver that hit you either doesn't have insurance or if the accident was your fault. And so you need those coverages, in my opinion. What we see is because those coverages can be relatively expensive in the grand scheme of auto insurance, when somebody just wants to buy a minimum or a minimal insurance policy that meets the state limits, they tend to pass on the comprehensive collision coverage piece of that. And then they get into an accident and realize, certainly if it's their fault, that now they're out of vehicle. and there's nobody there to pay to fix it or to total it out and pay them for the vehicle because they didn't have the comprehensive collision coverage. Or if they get hit by an uninsured driver, they're out of luck as well because they don't have that coverage. And so it's really, really important, in my opinion, even if you don't have an expensive car, even if you have a used car that's maybe worth $2,000, in my opinion, comprehensive collision coverage is very important to have because I do see clients, unfortunately, end up getting stuck without somebody to pay for their vehicle because the driver that hits them doesn't have insurance and they don't have insurance, or they don't have the comprehensive collision coverage on their insurance. So that's a very important, I think, piece of our discussion today is if you don't have comprehensive collision coverage on your auto insurance policy, I want you to at least look at it. Talk to your insurance agent, consider it, get your agent's opinion, and at least look at it and make a decision that's well thought out. If you don't know if you have it, I want you to go look at your policy. And again, if you can't tell by looking at your policy, if you're not sure what to look at, pick up the phone and call your insurance agent and get that information. So at least you know. At least you're not going to be surprised if you end up in that situation. You want to make sure that you're able to make an informed decision about whether or not you've got that coverage based off of whether or not you actually choose to have it. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Now, if you end up in an accident and your vehicle's been damaged and you haven't been hurt and you have comprehensive collision coverage, the first thing I want you to do is to pick up the phone and call your insurance company and open up a claim. It doesn't mean that your insurance company is necessarily going to pay to fix your vehicle, but you need to open up a claim and let them know that you have been in an accident, answer all their questions, give them all the accident facts, let them know your vehicle is damaged, give them the insurance information for the other driver who was involved in the accident. And if the accident was the other driver's fault, the goal would be to have the other driver's insurance company fix your car. If it turns out you're at fault for the accident, then you can go through your insurance company and get your car fixed. Or if your car happens to be totaled, get the lien paid off on your car and get paid any extra over that if the car's worth more than the lien. The first thing you do is you call your insurance company, open up a claim. The next thing you do is you call the other driver's insurance company and open up a claim and give them all of that same information. And then the insurance companies go and they investigate. Now, as they're investigating, the first thing I want you to look at is where is your vehicle? If your vehicle is drivable and it's sitting in your driveway but it's just been damaged, okay, leave it in your driveway. Now if it's not safe to drive, I certainly don't want you to continue driving it around. If it is safe to drive, then you can continue to drive it around. If it's not safe to drive or if it's damaged so badly you can't drive it, it doesn't move, the first question people have is, well, what about a rental car? Now, rental cars are paid for, again, by insurance coverage. You can have rental coverage on your insurance policy, your own auto insurance policy. Just like your comprehensive collision coverage, the rental car coverage is just a separate piece to your auto insurance. And it's an important piece, certainly. I've got it on my insurance policy, but lots of people I see choose to not pay for that coverage. Now, again, the disadvantage to not having that coverage is if there's a dispute about who's at fault. If the insurance companies want to investigate or if they want to, kind of fight over it, the other driver's insurance company isn't going to put you into a rental car because they're going to tell you they're still investigating. And a lot of times, what I see them do, quite honestly, in cases, is if the insurance carrier for the other driver, who you know is at fault, you were in the accident, you know the facts, you know it wasn't your fault, you know it was theirs. If their insurance company actually knows that you don't have rental coverage, they drag out their investigation regarding fault. And they drag it out and they drag it out because they don't want to put you in a rental car. And so they do that, or they tell you, hey, we're still investigating, we're not going to put you into a rental car, so that they can not pay for the rental car and do their investigation, get all their ducks in a row, determine the value of your car, for example, if it's totaled, and then write you a check and say, okay, here's your check, and try to avoid paying for that expense. Now, if they do that, if you're not in a rental car, the other driver's insurance company ultimately accepts responsibility and wants to write you a check for your vehicle and avoid paying rental car charges under that scenario. you are entitled to what's called a loss of use payout. So basically, it's every day they should pay you something for every day that you did not have a vehicle to drive. Now, if you had a second car that you were driving around, you're probably going to lose that fight. But if that was your only car and now you're taking the bus, now you're having to get rides from other people, and it took them 15 days to make their determination, there isn't a set amount per day that they need to pay you. I mean, we tend to shoot for our clients for $30, $35 a day. Insurance companies don't like paying anything, and we tend to resolve those claims for probably, and again, every case is different. Every insurance company is different. But I would guess probably about $30 a day for a loss of use payment for the time you're out of a vehicle. But that's something you negotiate about, and that's something you fight about. But I want you to know about it so you have that information as you deal with the insurance companies. So that's an important piece. Now, if you have rental coverage on your insurance policy and the investigation's still going on and the other driver's insurance company is dragging their feet and saying they're still investigating, you go through your insurance company, you have them put you in a rental car, and now you have a car to drive around. And that tends to motivate the other driver's insurance company to get their investigation done and get everything squared away, because they know that they will actually end up having to reimburse your insurance company for your car rental fees. And so they know every day that price goes up, and they know that they're going to have to pay it. So they are actually motivated under those circumstances when you're in a rental car through your insurance company to get their investigation done, get it squared away, and get your car taken care of. Either get your car fixed, or if it's totaled, get it totaled out and write you a check. So that's an important piece to understand and remember. And so quite honestly, I'm a big fan of rental coverage on insurance policies too. And if you don't know if you have it, you ought to at least look at your policy and check on it so you can make an informed decision about whether or not you want it based off of whatever the price of it is. So that's one issue. Another issue is if your car isn't drivable, so it's not sitting in your driveway because you couldn't drive it home, but it actually got towed to a tow yard. The challenge with that is as your car sits in the tow yard, it accrues storage fees every day. The tow yard is charging you to store your vehicle. And what insurance companies use under those circumstances to fight with you, and this actually is a valid legal argument, is insurance companies will say you, as the car owner, have a duty to mitigate damages. So what that means is this. If the insurance company says, yeah, this accident was our fault, it was our insured's fault, it wasn't yours, you had your car towed to a tow yard, which you had every right to do. I mean, it wasn't drivable, so you had to do that. However, while we were investigating for 15 days, because we've got a right to do that as an insurance company, you had a duty to minimize the damages that the insurance company would have to pay if you possibly could. And their argument is, since the car's sitting in the tow yard, you could have minimized that. And the way you could have minimized it is you could have had it towed from the tow yard to somewhere else. Let's say to the car dealership to get an estimate and have it sit in their tow yard without the hefty, or have it sit in their extra yard without the hefty tow yard storage fees. And you chose to not do that. So we, the insurance company, aren't going to pay the $1,200 to the tow yard. That can become a big problem. Especially if your car's not totaled, but it's actually fixable, and what everybody wants to do is have it towed now from the tow yard to, let's say, the car dealership or the body shop and have it fixed. But the tow yard says, we're not letting this car go anywhere unless somebody pays us $1,200. So again, there are different ways to deal with that. One way is to simply have it towed to a body shop. And yeah, you're going to have to pay for the tow. But the $100 to have it towed from the tow yard to a car dealership body shop is a lot less than the $1,200 storage fees. That's what your duty to mitigate is about. And so, that's an important thing to know. Now, if you have, again, collision coverage on your vehicle, even though the accident wasn't your fault, if as this investigation is going on that the at-fault insurance company is doing, you then want to, since they are investigating and they're not getting it taken care of, you want to pick up the phone, call your insurance company and say to them, hey, you guys need to take care of my car. Here's where it is. It's in this tow yard. I need you to send an adjuster out. I need you to fix it. I need you to put an estimate together. I need you to get it towed out of the tow yard lot into either your lot or, a body shop lot. And they'll do it. Now, just so you know, I have heard on occasion, it doesn't happen a lot, but I've heard from clients that their insurance company tells them when they open the claim initially, okay, thanks for opening the claim. Now, there isn't anything for us to do because it doesn't sound like the accident was your fault. So you need to get everything taken care of by the other driver's insurance company. And they kind of end the conversation and leave the person who's been in the accident thinking, oh, okay, well, I guess my insurance company doesn't have to do anything. The other guy's does. And they just wait. And these bad things happen. Tow yard storage fees start to accrue. And a number of other, all these other things that we've talked about start to happen. So if your insurance company tells you that, they're playing games, quite honestly. And so you need to pick up the phone, call them, and say, hey, look, the other driver's at fault, but his insurance company's dragging their feet. You guys need to take care of this. And insist that they start that process of taking care of it. And they will. They're not going to fight with you about it once you sort of have that frank conversation with them. And they'll get the car towed out of the tow yard. They're going to adjust you out. They'll do an estimate. And generally what happens is most of the time somewhere within this process of your insurance company taking care of these things, the other driver's insurance company will finish their investigation, and then they'll step in and start to pick up all the costs at that point. Because, again, they know that if your insurance company takes care of everything, they're going to have to reimburse them anyways. So they step in, they pay to total out your car, they pay to fix your car, they reimburse your insurance company for what they paid to tow it and all these other things. So your insurance company doesn't end up at a loss, and none of these bad things happen because you were proactive and took care of them. Now, one challenge that can exist, just again, so we cover everything, is if the other driver's insurance company continues to drag their feet, or if at some point through this process they deny liability. They say, well, we've done our investigation, and we don't think that our driver was at fault. So if you want us to pay, you're going to have to come fight with us. If they take that position and you end up having to have your insurance company take care of everything, you will have to pay your deductible. That's just the way it is. Whether you have a $250 deductible, a $500 deductible, a $1,000 deductible, because that's your contract with your insurance company. So you will have to pay that deductible. Now, it's possible that when your insurance company then goes and fights with the other driver's insurance company to get reimbursed, they should be able to get you your deductible payment back. We can certainly do that for our clients if they've been injured and we're taking care of the property damage for them, and that same scenario plays out. But on the front end, you'll need to pay your deductible, and just so you're not surprised, but that's part of the way it works. So we've got that piece. Another important piece is, where do you get your vehicle fixed? Do you take it to the mom and pop body shop down the street? Do you take it to a car dealership? Do you take it to a bigger outfit that advertises? Really, the main thing they do is fix vehicles. Is body shop repair for accidents. I mean, where do you take it? The first thing to know, or an important piece, is you can take it wherever you want. Insurance companies want you to take it to a body shop that they have a relationship with, that they've worked something out with, because it tends to cost them less. I mean, they've worked out some sort of agreement, and there's a cost advantage to the insurance carrier if you use their preferred body shop. Now, I can tell you, in general, I've never had a big problem with that. I've had clients say, I'm not going to use their insurance company or their preferred body shop because I know they're going to use aftermarket parts or these other things. And again, that's a decision that you make. But what I've always seen is an advantage to using the insurance company's preferred body shop, whether it's my insurance company or the other drivers, if that's who I were to go through, is if they don't do the correct job the first time around, you've got a way to make them fix it. And what I mean by that is, if for some reason, let's say the door to your car doesn't shut correctly, when you go pick it up and, after they've fixed it and you take it back, they'll fix it. You run the risk if you take it to, mom and pop body shop and they don't do a very good job, and you take it back, that they give you the runaround and they don't fix the door, or they want you to pay more to get the door fixed. And the insurance company is not going to pay twice. They only pay once. And so if you pick your own body shop and they do a poor job and the body shop won't step up and fix it, you're stuck with that. If you pick the body shop that the insurance carrier uses as their preferred shop and they do a poor job, you have a way to continue to work through the process to make them fix that job. So I'm a supporter of using the insurance company's preferred body shops. And I can tell you most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the preferred body shops that insurance companies use are directly tied to or related to car dealerships. Now, the second piece is if you're not using a preferred body shop of the insurance company, I've also always been a fan of body shops that are owned by car dealerships, because there tends to be, in my experience, more accountability there. Because they are car dealerships, and that's really, where they make their money is off selling cars. They tend to be concerned about what people think about them, how they treat customers, what kind of job they do for customers. They don't like a lot of bad stuff out there, whether it's bad reviews on the internet or whatever it is. And so there tends to be more accountability there again. And in my experience, this is my experience with clients, I can't think of a time ever where a client took his vehicle to a car dealership body shop and got it fixed, and we then heard that the client wasn't happy with the job. There have been a lot of instances that I can think of where clients have taken their vehicles to other kind of smaller body shops, typically local mom and pop type body shops. And they have had issues, whether it's the paint color is different between, the new part they painted and the old part of the car, and so they don't look the same, or the door doesn't shut quite right, or the car has this issue or the car has that issue. So those are just important pieces and important things to keep in mind. I think those are the main things if you're dealing with your own property damage, that kind of come up that you've got to worry about, that you need to be in tune with. So do me a favor, if you have any questions or if you find yourself in this situation and for some reason you're running into problems and you're not sure what to do, you can send me an email at dzanes, Z-A-N-E-S, at zaneslaw.com. And if you send me an email and I get it, I'll respond to it and try to give you some input that's helpful. But I appreciate you tuning in today, and I appreciate you listening.
We've come to the end of this episode. For more amazing information to help you wade through the confusing legal world, visit zaneslaw.com. We'll see you next time on Zanes Law's Personal Injury Legal Tips.